Hey everybody, we're live. We're going to be pulling out these bad boys again. However, before that, got to finish my setup here. Need to go live before, and this way I can keep an eye on things, sort of, and I can do moderators if necessary. So, there we go. All right. Let's pull out some cards and get to a general pull. And then if people show up, then we can do individuals. And we'll see if a topic comes up. I don't really have a topic in mind. I have to separate these out. Because normally for people, we do randoms. A lot of people like the randoms. But we're going to separate them out. So we have one for each week. We have inspiration, guidance, activity. It's always good to have an activity. And, of course, affirmations. And we'll pull one that will guide our week. I have not been here for a little bit. Life, right? If you follow me on any socials, really the only place to follow me is kind of Instagram. I mean, like Instagram and Facebook, just because if I update Instagram, it automatically updates Facebook. Hello, Base Jedi. Which reminds me, I owe an apology to my Patreons. I meant to pause this month, and I did not. So hopefully I can, this week, I'm going to focus on getting out a meditation video. I'm gonna try to get that done to at least justify the Patreons getting charged this month. So hello, Base Jedi. Thank you for reminding me. All right, we got these separated out. We will shuffle each, and then we'll lay one down. Let's move that there. This here. And guidance. All right, let's start with affirmation. Let's start with a weekly affirmation. What's our affirmation for the week? But yeah, well, I'll do an update after this. How about that? Clear the mind. Set the intention. Some deep breaths, everybody. If you're here, just take some, shake it off. And think about the coming week. What's the coming week have in store for us, right? So, we will get our affirmation. All right, here we go. This is a good one. I think it's pretty new. I am determined. When I am on a mission, I won't stop until it has been completed. The world may put obstacles in my way, but I keep rolling ahead. And so there you go. That's our affirmation for the week. Determination. In the Jedi Circle. So when I first created the Jedi Circle back in like late 2004, finally published it almost a year later online in August 2025. One of my first drafts had determination as one of the 5 Jedi traits. I went through a few different iterations, and now it's no longer on there. But determination is a good one. It's important. I always find it, people equate it with stubbornness. I don't agree, because stubbornness is, at least linguistically speaking, kind of carries a negative connotation. It's more of the not willing to listen, where determination is you're determined to reach your goal, but you're still listening and open to new ways to reach it, right? You're not just banging your head against the wall. So determination, yes, be determined, but always still listen, be mindful, keep your eyes open, be willing to find new ways to reach your goal, but absolutely keep rolling ahead. So that's our Affirmation for the week. What's our inspiration for the week? What's our inspiration for the week? So we'll just kind of settle down, think about the coming week, what's going on, how's life treating us, and we'll see what kind of inspiration we have for the week. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to go down. We're going to do this one. It's important. It's also with determination because it's going to be tested. Let's keep a little optimism here. Sometimes all it takes to get through a challenging situation is a positive outlook and faith in yourself. One of the things that I like to talk about is it's not so much faith in yourself. It's about knowing yourself and knowing what you've been through, the experiences you've gone through. You know that you can make it through things, right? So one of the things that I talk about, confidence, right? It's not, there's a quote I like, it's not bragging if you can back it up, right? Confidence is born from knowing yourself. It's about knowing yourself, not having faith in yourself. It's about knowing yourself. Faith is born from, you know you can do things. You know you can handle things. You know you've been through things. You may not like that you have that endurance sometimes. Sometimes that's, we'd rather not have to do those things. But at the same time, you know that you've been through things. You know that you can go through things. You know that you're able to. You've survived a lot up to this point. You've gone through a lot up to this point. So let's keep a little optimism here. You've accomplished things. You've done good things. You've done things in your life, right? Life is going to always have its ups and downs. Sometimes it's on a downward spiral thing, but sometimes it's up, and it does that too. Life is all over the map, right? So it's important to remember that you've done good things, and despite the things that you have survived and overcome, right? You have accomplished things. You have done things. Again, you might hold those different than other people, but you have done things. So have a little optimism here, okay? If you find yourself in a tough week, let's keep a little optimism. Let's remember that things can turn around on a moment's notice. The universe's time is not our time. But we can get through it. Keep your eye on the ball, and just keep moving forward, right? Keep rolling forward. All right, let's do guidance. Let's have a little guidance for the week. So again, centering ourselves, getting into it, deep breath if you need it. Just kind of sit back, relax, and think about the coming week. What kind of guidance do we need for the week? Generally speaking, what kind of guidance do we need for the week? Guidance. Ooh, guidance. Okay. The Jedi believe that the Force is all around us. Our beliefs can guide us, but also overwhelm us. Focus on what you know. Every experience makes you who you are. Now, we just kind of talked about this, right? It's not about belief or faith, really. It's about knowing who you are and in the experiences that you've been through and that you can handle and that you can go. Absolutely, the Force is all around us. But here's something. I'm not going to get into it. I wouldn't say the Force is around us. I mean, it is. The Force is around us. So yes. Okay, I would say that. The Force is around us. But you are not a part of the Force. You are the Force. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get the boundaries mixed up. They perceive a difference where there is none. But that's another divergent rambling. So we'll just stick to this. The Jedi believe the Force is all around us, which it is. Our beliefs can guide us. They can, but they can also overwhelm us. Again, like if you have an overdeveloped sense of justice, that can be really overwhelming, especially if you read the news, which I don't recommend. It can be very overwhelming. So focus on what you know. Every experience makes you who you are. Focus on yourself. Focus on what you know about yourself, and the experiences that you've been through, which will help you keep a little optimism as you keep on rolling ahead, determined. Okay, so those are our 3 for this week. How about an activity? Okay, let's see what activity we get for the week to close out the week. And then we can open it up. I'll do a life update, and then we can open the floor for personal readings if you want, or I should say poll, because it's not like these aren't tarot cards. It's not a reading. But let's see, and discussions and stuff like that. Pontifications. Anything we want to talk about today. Okay, activity for the week. Okay. Find your focus. The world around us is full of constant distractions. Go to a quiet spot. Sit in silence. Close your eyes and breathe. Find the peace within yourself. So I actually recently did something like this. I went camping this week, past week, whatever. So again, life update. I'll talk about it. So find your focus. And absolutely, I love this practice, so I highly recommend it. So this week, this is your activity. This week. Find your focus. So go out to a quiet spot, sit in silence, close your eyes, and just breathe. Just breathe. And just be. This whole find the peace within yourself, it'll be automatic if you're willing to just go out to a quiet spot. And again, there's not going to be unless you go to a deprivation chamber, it's never going to be quiet. And even there, it's still not going to be quiet. If you have an inner monologue, if you're like me and you have an inner monologue, then it's definitely not going to be quiet. Those thoughts are still going to turn. In fact, it's they turn a bit more because it's quiet. So it's not like quiet. It's just, I do this in the city. I go up to Jedi Hill. It's right over here by my house, and I'll do it. Obviously, you still get the sounds of the city and everything else. There's gardeners, dogs, kids, cars, like that. But if you practice acceptance, right? Acceptance is peace. It's not about fighting those noises. It's not about removing those noises. It's about observing and letting go, like clouds, like dog barks, dog. Okay. Just continue to sit in silence yourself and just breathe and just be. And then there you go. That's your activity. That's all our activities. That's our activities for the week. Okay. I think that really supports, our inspiration to focus on what we know and the experiences that make us who we are, and as well as the force that allows us to connect back with the force, which of course, all of that reminds us to have faith in ourselves and to take a positive, realistic, right, look at a situation and keep a little optimism here. And then remember, and then that lets us keep rolling ahead. All of this allows us to keep rolling ahead, determined in our mission. It says mission, whatever your mission is. All right. So that's our weekly pool. We got through it in 15 minutes. That's about right. Okay. So we have that. So if anyone's here and they want a personal poll of either inspiration, guidance, activity, affirmation, we can do that. We could do a random one technically. Just let me know. Outside of that, we'll update where I have been and why we haven't been doing these lately. And that's mainly life changes. For me, that's a change in jobs. And I've been really just working on the books, but also taking a lot of or not a lot, but taking some me time last week definitely was good. I spontaneously, so me and my partner spontaneously went out camping in Los Angeles National Forest. Packed up the tent, packed up cooler, packed up all that stuff, and took off. And then on the way home, we spontaneously decided to go eat at a diner. It's called Peggy Sue's. And we went out there. And then since we were there, we decided to go ahead and check out Calico Ghost Town, which is, 5 minutes down the road. So we went to Calico Ghost Town and checked that out. And that was fun. And then it's been kind of just relaxing and kind of, zoning out a little bit this week. Prior, it's been, I went to a 49er game. I'm going to get to it, Base Jedi, sorry. I went to a 49er game last Sunday. I think it was last Sunday. So that's why, obviously, I wasn't here. I was at a 49er game. Or was that the Sunday before? I don't really remember. It's been a blur. The past 3 weeks has been a life-altering kind of time. Or not all, just shaking up. A lot of things have been changing. So it's been it's been one of those stressful, but like one of those crazy times that has just been wild. So haven't been around looking to get things. I've had a couple comments on my videos about getting Insight Timer, getting more meditations over there, as well as I'm looking to do some meditations for YouTube. So hopefully we can get that done. I'm also working on a book right now that I'm going to push out soon. It's not one of the Jedi books or Zoism books or anything. It's tied to Zoism, but it's not the same. I'm working on that, and I'm going to just throw that out there as soon as I am able, and then we'll work on other things. Okay. All right. That's basically the life update, kind of. Guidance. 2 cards for guidance. Double the guidance for this week. Okay, Base Jedi. So, take, you know the drill. Deep breath. Think about the coming weeks, and just allow yourself to relax and think about the coming week. What you need guidance on, if you need something specific. So what does Base Jedi need guidance on? What does Base Jedi need guidance on? 2 cards. 2 cards. What does Base Jedi need guidance on? Okay. Base Jedi. Let's see what we got here. Sometimes we feel completely out of sync with those around us. When you don't agree with what the people around you are doing, step away for a moment and think about what you want to do. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And then here's your other one. Standing out in a crowd does not mean acting like a different person. Embrace who you are and be comfortable with the ways your personality already makes you unique. So these obviously tie in pretty well together. These tie in pretty well together. This one, let's go with this one first. Sometimes we feel completely out of sync with those around us, which certainly happens, especially if we live in an area that maybe we like the area, but sometimes the people are, not quite in line with the way that the world is flowing. Maybe they're not so open-minded. Here, there's some. There's a page for that, 29. Let's get to it. There we go. Have you ever felt like you just don't belong? When Stormtrooper FN 2187 sees firsthand that the First Order is doing terrible things, He knows he has to leave. As Finn, he joins the resistance and fights to make the galaxy a better place for everyone. Have you ever gone along with the crowd and done something you knew was wrong? Looking back, would you follow them again? So that's that one. And again, I feel like sometimes we can feel that no matter where we live, no matter anything like that, it's just sometimes we're out of sync with the people around us, and the only way to to counter that is to be your own self. And it says here, make sure you know what you want to do, and then just be yourself in doing that thing. That's those are your 2 guidance cards. Just hope it helps. We could talk about it more if you want to. So there you go. Let's see. Hello, guess who's back? Welcome back, Zeno. Oh. Boy, are you guys gonna love where I have been. Where have you been? Where have you been? Zeno, go ahead and enlighten us. Where have you been? Let us know. But yeah, so hopefully, I have no idea the future of this. All right, we'll wait for this of the live streams. We might have to change the date or anything, because right now things are all up in the air. I do not have a set schedule of any sort of kind. So yeah, all the things and things. All right, I remember the trip. I was in. I remember you talking about it before you left. I was in Europe. Indeed, I remember now. I remember for 10 days, 2 weeks. Yeah, sounds like fun. Yeah. I definitely enjoyed my trip out there to Europe and stuff. So, did you have fun? Was there a particular place that you liked more than others? Was there a place that you really vibed with? Was there a place where the culture really spoke to you, or maybe the architecture or the weather or something of that nature? Cultural exploration in life is important. You can do that here at home. I think people kind of forget that, but you can absolutely do that here at home. You can also do it, secondhand, as in, through Travel Channel, National Geographic, things of those sorts. You could definitely do cultural exploration that way, but it's kind of hard to beat. It's really hard to beat going out there and immersing yourself in a culture and really just getting to enjoy it. So was there like a favorite location? Was there a favorite food? Maybe something new that you tried that you hadn't tried before? Maybe music, maybe, again, architecture, art, things of that nature. Was there something that really stood out to you? Was there something that really grabbed you in relation to the Zoe or the Force, right? Depending on what word you want to use, Zoe, Force, Source, Godhead, Tao, human experience, any of it, whatever words you want to use. But was there a place there while you were on that trip that really just, like, you felt it? You were like, dude, this is it. I feel it. I feel the source. I feel it. I feel the Force. Was there any sort of place like that? All right. We'll wait on those if you want to. And then, again, if anybody's watching and you want a card pull, let me know. We can pull the cards. We got inspiration, guidance, activity, and affirmations. We pulled our ones for the week. You can go back. First 15 minutes of the video is all on that stuff. All right. So if you're just joining us, then you can check those out. But yeah, so we'll see how the live streams go. As I said, things are a bit up in the air right now, so we'll have to see. It's all going to be playing it by ear and all of that stuff. So we'll see how it goes and see what the future holds. Hopefully there will be a book out soon, and hopefully we'll get some more meditations out soon. I think that's going to be the focus next week. If I can focus. If I can focus. had a fantastic time when when we went to London, Paris, Italy, France, Rome, and got some awesome photos from the Colosseum. It's always a good place. And Switzerland. Definitely some lovely places to be. Absolutely. Definitely some lovely places. England's always lovely. London, has a lot of history for being, the city that it is, right? Because you have this city, but at the same time, there's a lot of it's a long-standing city. There's a lot of history there. Same with Paris, and then Venice, absolutely, right? Venice has some good times, but England, France, Italy, Switzerland, all very lovely places to visit. I don't know if I would ever move there, but certainly all lovely places with lovely people, for sure. I really enjoyed my time in Italy. Uh, I think Italy was my favorite when I went to Europe. I didn't go to Switzerland. I haven't been to Switzerland yet, though we have a trip that we're loosely planning, me and my partner. We are loosely planning, have no dates or anything, but we're loosely planning a trip to Norway because we both have roots and ancestry that ties back there. Now, for me, I am one of the most, I call myself, heritage-wise, I call myself American, the United States, American, because I'm a mutt, right? Like, I just have so much different ancestry when you go back through it. There's just a mix. There's not like a singular country that I've, come from or anything like that. My parents have gone around. There's Native American ancestry there. There's Scottish. There's a lot of European, obviously. Obviously, there's a lot of European mix in there as well, and on my father's side, I should say, on my father's side, our last name, his last name that obviously I got stuck with, has its roots, and it traces all the way back technically to Norway, depending on how far you want to get into it, right? How far you want to get into to tracing names back is one of the things. So all foods were good in the parts that we visited. First time I've ever had gelato. Gelato is excellent. If you ever find yourself out in Los Angeles, there's a really good gelato spot. I don't know if they're still there. They should be, but it's right next to one of the best taco spots as well that you'll find in LA. It's right in downtown, so it's definitely an adventure, but definitely good stuff. In Switzerland, I got some chocolates, as you have to. I think that's mandatory, and brought them home, of course. And our tour guide was an English gentleman. Excellent. It's always good to have someone to guide you around and show you, the spots and let you know where to go and what to eat, things to try, and little histories and important little nuggets of information. It's always good to have someone around for that. So it definitely sounds like a fun time and a good visit, and definitely definitely one of those life experiences that are worth having and adding to. Definitely, if you can do it, highly recommend it, right? Unfortunately, not everybody has that ability right now, But what do we have? KG, what's up, KG? Hello there. But yeah, definitely recommend getting out there and experiencing life any way you can. There's different things, and you can do that in your own neighborhood, right? I think it's one of the things that's important in our practices, that we have that cultural exploration within ourselves, and again, we can do that within our own neighborhoods and within our own local areas and stuff like that. There's a lot of flavors to sample. Culture changes for everybody. Let's see what we got. English gentleman, and had the same sense of humor like me, telling comedy jokes, and there were other tourists. Got along easily. We even celebrated someone's anniversary and birthdays. That's definitely important, and that's fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like you got some good memories. Hope you took some pictures. Sometimes while we experience it, like, I'm horrible at taking pictures because, I'm there in the moment and I'm experiencing it and I'm having fun, and I forget to take the pictures and kind of have that. But so hopefully, you got some chocolate. Hopefully you also got some other souvenirs. I'm a person who collects pens, meaning like lapel pens or something like that, like little things like that. Just, brain's not always going to be there. Nice to have something tactile to break it. Exploring is at our core. I absolutely agree, KG. Absolutely agree. I think it's, no matter where we're at and no matter what we're talking about different levels, right? That even spiritual exploration, right? Philosophical exploration of the self, as well as outwardly, is important. And that's how we avoid stagnation in all those levels is continual exploration. But yeah, humanity, for as long as that we can trace back on archaeology and things like that, have been explorers, have been movers, have been, there's always been an innate curiosity, right, that goes along with it. And we get to go and find new things, experience new things, sometimes good, sometimes not so good, but the experiences themselves still add to our growth, right? We still are able to continue exploring and things of that nature. Let's see, got to see the statue of Michael. Yeah. All coffees are spectacular. Absolutely. The statue is great. I really love like when you look at his hand, the detail on Michael's hand is really great. Like if you look at the veins that are kind of like popping out, like, which is wild, right? It's a really good one. All coffees are spectacular. Definitely agree. All the hotels were great too. Bathrooms aren't weird. They're just different. They're just different than what you're used to. And that's part of the fun of exploration, right? You get to experience things that are different. Different. We're all weird. You're the weird one, right? Weird is a matter of perspective. One of my favorite compliments to give is calling someone a weirdo. That's one of my favorite compliments to give out. But, different is the better word. Different is the better word in that case. Yeah. So like exploration is like a continued part of our existence, right? And hopefully we never quite lose it. We still, like, we can tell, like, humanity in general still hasn't lost that. We're still exploring the oceans, as we should. Kind of, so I still worry about some of the things that are down there in the depths that maybe we should just, we've explored a lot. Maybe we should just leave that, leave it alone. And we're still obviously exploring space. We have the new telescope that's just exploring all different areas of space where we're learning about different planets and things of that nature. It's really exciting time in there, but we really kind of need it because our resources by 2100 is going to be in a weird thing. Weird is a matter of perspective. So is normal. Absolutely. Again, it's usually when we say weird, we really just mean different than what we're used to, or different than what society says is quote unquote normal. And normal is just what we're used to. It's one of those things. Like if you were raised in a very specific way, that way would be normal to you. And that's for good and bad things. And it's important to remember, like I offer the reminder for people, especially for myself, when you've gone through like traumatic events or something like that, like that's how you were, raised or whatever. And those were just baseline experiences that you experienced over and over again. The important question and the important reminder is to be like, that's not normal, right? Like just because it happened to you, because that was your normal, doesn't mean it makes it normal, makes it right, makes it okay. it's just something that we experienced so regularly that we assume that that's what the baseline was, that's what normal was. But then as you explore the world, as you explore different perspectives, as you explore yourself and humanity and history and all of that stuff, you can learn that was indeed not normal. That wasn't a normal experience for the majority of people, right? So yeah, weird is just different than what we are used to. And if you find something weird, then the chances are on the flip side that they find you weird. Like, different cultures and things like that will find each other's things weird, but really it's just different. It's just not what you're used to. And that's the point of cultural exploration, right? You get to explore those differences, why those differences exist, like how did this come about, and things of that nature. You get to do that digging deep. You get to go exploring and stuff like that. I have a special place in my heart for space exploration. It's always good. I dream too much about space exploration, not like the real groundwork that that humanity is doing right now, which is beautiful and wonderful. And there's amazing pictures and stuff like that right now. And a lot of great information and data that's coming in. But I have that Star Trek, like love and want, like I just want to get there already. I'm never going to see it, but I just want to get there already. I want to get to the Star Trek future. That's where I want to go. Let's go, hopefully a little bit better. Of course, Star Trek deals, even in the Star Trek universe, right? There's still politics that don't, but like Star Trek communism, I'm all for it. Let's get on spaceships and let's go. Let's go. I'm all for that, So absolutely. Got to see the villa where the wine was, and we party all night. While listening to, there's a lot of villas and there's a lot of wine. There's especially, I mean, you were in France and Italy, man. Those are two hugely big wine places. While listening to the waiter singing Italian music. Okay, so we're in Italy. Music was amazing. Absolutely, man. There's so much I can go on. Absolutely, it's a wonderful experience, and you should really take the time to really appreciate it, dig into it, relive, like kind of go through it, and again, I hope you have things that you can take with you to kind of remind you of those great memories and that fun time and that cultural exploration. It's really great that you had a great time too. Sometimes it does. Look, almost all my trips, I think I don't know if there's ever been a smooth one for me. Like all my trips, I don't call them adventures, I call them misadventures, because something always goes wrong. Like there's always, even when I just went camping, like something always goes like off schedule, off kilter, off like thing. It wasn't so bad, right? Like when I went on that random spontaneous trip last week, but on the way home ran into this huge issue. Just there's always something. It's always a misadventure. But that's part of the experience, right? That's part of the trip. So it's really good to see people not have to deal with that kind of stuff, and to, again, like, it's, keep a little optimism here. Let's focus on the positives, right? So definitely great to see that focusing on the positives and doing that and having fun. So but I'm glad me and my parents had a great time in Europe. I'm glad to be back in the US of A. It's always good to be home, wherever home is. I think anybody after they've traveled is always happy to be home. It's always nice to get home, right? At least if you have a pretty decent home, like a pretty nice home. And I don't mean monetarily, I just mean a place that's nice for you. It's always good to get home. traveling's fun, traveling's great, but there's still quite no place like home, right? So that's good. It's really great that you had a great time and got to have that cultural exploration and stuff like that. So missed the beginning of the stream, but are you enjoying Andor? Nothing like sleeping in your own bed. That's true. Like, I didn't think that when I was younger. When I was younger, I was really vagabond. I had a huge vagabond spirit, man. I used to like things outside of my control. Like, I moved around almost once every 2 years on average by the time I was like 20. Like, and I think it was even 18. I think by the time I was 18, I had moved 10 different places in my life. And then like I always had a vagabond spirit as well. Like, so that didn't really bother me or anything like that. And then that transferred on. And so when I was in my 20s and stuff, I had that real vagabond spirit. I was always moving. I always wanted to see things. I always wanted to go different places. I always wanted to live on the road kind of thing and all of that. And so, yeah, I really just, so I didn't have that when I was younger, like I didn't think, but now when I travel and I get back, man, there's absolutely nothing like just flopping back into your own bed, and enjoying it. So absolutely. Missed the beginning of the stream, but are you enjoying Andor? Yeah, I think I've only caught the first 3 episodes so far. I don't think I've caught episode 4. I only caught the first 3 when it first came out. And someone's critique, or I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was meant to be positive or negative. I took it as like they were trying to be, I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to be funny. But they said, "Dear Andor, you're not Blade Runner." But I definitely caught the Blade Runner vibes in it, for sure. I like that. I felt that was a good thing. I felt there was a nice mix of that very cyberpunk, Blade Runner-esque feel. I don't think it's trying to be Blade Runner. I don't think that's, if that was their takeaway or if that's what they were hinting at, I don't think that's an accurate take at all. It just has that feel to it. It's I think it's a very important element because Star Wars should kind of, carry that feel. And let's remember that Star Wars itself predates Blade Runner, obviously, as movies. So, it's a little off there, but like I absolutely, I've been enjoying it. I think it's interesting. Kind of I want to say a slow start, not really, obviously, but for the direction it seems to be going, I think they spent a lot of time building up stuff and building up characters that we're just not going to see or interact with. Like, there was a lot of time spent on things that I think we're just gonna move away from in the series. And it's not technically a bad thing. It's all a story and stuff like that. And it was an interesting story. So I've enjoyed the ride so far, but I always like pacing and things like that. Like, pacing's kind of my major issue with with things, with reading, with reading fiction novels, watching movies, watching TV shows. Pacing's kind of like one of my big major factors. It's one of my critiques of The Last Jedi is the pacing. It's not all the ridiculous things that get out there. It's the pacing of the movie that bothers me about The Last Jedi. I think it could have been paced out a lot better and made it flow a lot better, which would have made it a lot more fun, I think. But that's just my personal opinion. I know that's a really chaotic topic, but yeah, so I've enjoyed it. I picked up on the Blade Runner vibes, in my opinion, which again, I like. I'm a fan of cyberpunk and Star Wars and Blade Runner. So to see a merging of those kind of things, that spirit of it, I'm 100% for it. I was really excited to see Kyle Katarn's gun made canon in Andor. Really love that. I really want that now. I want that for one of my cosplays. I want that gun. So absolutely, but I've been enjoying it. So I think the show can stand on its own. Absolutely. And I think it's done that. It's its own story that hasn't tied in much to anything yet. Again, I haven't watched the latest episode, but it hasn't really tied into to much of anything, both of anything in Star Wars or anything like that. Like it really is its own series. It definitely pick up on those vibes, and that's just set dressing, and that's camera angles and things like that, and the tones that they use throughout it. But yeah, it's clearly its own story. It stands up on its own. I think it's going to be good. I think once it's finished, that people will be able to step back and really, really appreciate it on its own. Definitely a slow burn, but it's great. Episode 4 is very Star Warsy. Okay, very Star Warsy. I like that. I'll be interested to see what that means exactly. But yeah, it's definitely a slow burn, which again is not technically a bad thing. I just think sometimes, and I mean, it's more reminiscent of life that we have these relationships that we build up and then get lost, then get lost. But it'll be interesting to see. I have no idea where it's going or what it's, I don't even know what story it's really trying to tell just yet. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. I didn't feel bored through the episodes, even if as a slow burn, even as I said, like pacing's my thing. I didn't feel bored through the episodes. I think if episode 4 was a continuation kind of like episode 1 and 2, that I might start to get a little iffy with the pacing, but 3 really started kicking up the pace a bit and kind of moving, like progressing the story along in the direction that it was hinting at from the beginning. So, and again, you have to know backstory and back characters, and that stuff's all important. So I'm not against it. It's definitely not a mark. Definitely not talking negative about it. But yeah, I enjoy it. I didn't find myself bored throughout it. As I said, pacing wise, like there were times in like The Last Jedi where I found myself bored, where it was like, you need to kick this story along there, guy. With Andor, I didn't feel that way. So while absolutely slow burn, I haven't felt like I'm being dragged along or that or that the story is being set aside. I feel like everything's kind of been important. And as I said, I really love the vibe of it and the spirit of it. So so far, so absolutely. And Andor is a really interesting character. And my partner already has a Jin cosplay that they made themselves, and so now there's talk of me doing an Andor cosplay, which I don't have the stylish hair that he does, but but yeah, so there's talk about might have to make an Andor cosplay. So yeah, Andor is building up more and more. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, especially what I like to do with series is like, of course, watch them as they're coming out. But then I like to just go back once they're finished and kind of just binge watch it all to kind of just take in the story as much as possible, as quickly as possible, just to be like, and kind of really see how it moves along. So I know people had pacing issues with the Kenobi series. I didn't. I felt Kenobi was great. There was a lot of critiques about it, but I had fun with Kenobi. So I really enjoyed Kenobi for what it was. Really, really enjoyed that. Especially, again, as I was saying, I like to go back and kind of just try to go through it. And I felt it worked a lot better without the weekly breaks. And that's kind of I don't know. A show should obviously work well with both, but in today's culture, with streaming culture and binge watching as a culture, that's really ingrained in our culture these days. Binge watching is just a thing. So a story needs to flow that way as well. So I really look forward to seeing how Andor flows all together. Mandalorian's another great one. season 1 just flows so well. Like as you progress, it's easy to watch. It's easy to binge watch, I guess is what I'm saying. If a show's easy to binge watch afterwards, that I think that really speaks to the story, So that cosplay, my partner agrees. My partner agrees. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. But again, I really want Kyle Katarn's gun. That's like has been my favorite Star Wars gun for a long time. And outside of a couple people who've made it, which of course makes it a pretty expensive prop to buy, right? It hasn't really been around as a standard thing. Obviously, you can find Han Solo's, gun. Just I have one, sitting over here, and it's pretty easy to find, pretty cheap to get, unless you want someone to paint it all up and do all that stuff for you. But it's pretty easy to get, it's pretty easy to find. And same with the other ones, especially you can get the Rey gun, you can get her gun from The Force Awakens. It's pretty easy to find, especially if you have money. You can go to people who've made like replicas themselves on Etsy, which really easy to find and stuff like that. Again, Kyle Katarn's not as easy. So I think with Andor now, hopefully it'll be a bit easier. Hopefully it'll be a bit easier. Can't wait for Obi-Wan season 2. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what story they want to tell. I thought Kenobi was great for what it was, and honestly, they should probably leave it alone. But you gotta give the people what they want. I felt a lack of budget for Kenobi, but too many folks fall into the trap of instant gratification these days. Again, a part of our culture, right? Part of our culture, and going back to exploration, is instant gratification. Patience has lost more and more, and that's why like spiritual exploration is kind of important, because we need to we have to teach ourselves that, especially in today's culture, patience is really hard to come by. And understanding that there's two different kinds of patience, right? There's active patience, and then there's passive patience. Passive patience works more towards the instant gratification. Like that's the counter to it. That's the flip side of it, right? Because instant gratification is about like, okay, I want to feel good. I want this thing to be great now, and there is no allowance for build up. There is no allowance for putting things together. There's a want and a desire and expectation, right? And these things are all counter: want, desire, expectation. Those things will get you every time. Acceptance over expectation. That's kind of where you want to go, And as such, you need to develop that patience. And that's a big thing in life too. It's where me and the universe, our timings are different. I have probably never been in line with the universe. Synchronicity happens. Obviously, it's like turn signals. If you've ever been sitting at a light where you have your turn signal on, the car in front of you has their turn signal on, and they're moving at different speeds, but then every once in a while they line up and your blinkers are in sync, and then they fall out of sync again. And given enough time, they'll sync back up very briefly. And I really feel like that's me in the universe, right? That's just how timing has happened in my life. I'm so out of sync with the universe. But patience is the key to kind of getting there and falling more in line. And if nothing else, the patient helps to wait until that synchronicity happens again. But it's tough, But yeah, that's another cultural exploration where in today's society, instant gratification is very much a part of our existence, and it's something that we have to kind of counter and stop. And it's okay to want something, it's okay to expect things, and it's okay to have those desires and such like that, but we still have to like look within ourselves and be like, okay, So this isn't playing out the way I wanted, but does that actually make it bad? This isn't what I was expecting, but does that actually mean it's not good, right? Like we have to kind of look at that. And I think the sequels suffered from that, and certainly Kenobi suffered with that because they've tied into these bigger things, these bigger stories that people have very specific expectations on, and they want that instant gratification to play back into those things. Sequel obviously suffered from poor management in the sense of you don't develop a trilogy on the fly per movie. You develop a trilogy and a story and a vision before you begin filming. You need to have that story set from ready to go. you need your beginning, your middle, and your end all lined up and ready to go. Excuse me, all lined up and ready to go prior to making your movies. I don't know why it's whatever, right? That's getting into another thing. I love your perspective. I'm sorry, I've been rambling on what or on a bunch of things, so I'm not sure what. But yeah, first of all, thank you. It's game recognizes game, right? But like, also can't wait for Star Wars Visions season 2. Yeah, that should be fun as well. I didn't like all the stories in there, and I definitely didn't like all the animation. But again, different strokes for different folks, man. But like some of them, I was just like, that's. I wanted to quote Han Solo, like, that's not how the Force works. But definitely fun. It was definitely a fun TV show for sure. But yeah, it's synchronicity, patience. You gotta have patience. You gotta remember. You gotta take the step back. Active patience, sometimes passive patience. You have to figure it out. But yeah, timing is all about being in sync with the universe, which can be difficult because the universe is timing. I don't think it aligns to any human, really, because human lifespans, especially, I mean, when you're talking about the universe, right? You're talking about the universe. How long has the universe been around? How long has the universe been around? You're talking billions of years, and yeah, and humans not so much, right? At least here on this planet, because this planet has been around for billions of years, but like humans have only been around for a little bit of that. So our lifespan is really different than the lifespan of the universe. And so I feel like we're always going to be a little out of sync, but maybe that's just me trying to comfort myself because my sense of timing is bad. I am horrible at it. But again, there's one of the things that I say a lot in my life, and my partners come to, really understand it, is there's a reason why I'm a Jedi. There's a reason why I follow Jediism. There's a reason why I follow Zoism. There's a reason why I follow these paths, right? There's a reason why I developed the Jedi Circle and the cycle of illumination and have these kind of set concepts and not rules. They're not rules, but certainly concepts, guidance for life. There's a reason why I have them, and it's not because I was born naturally to them, and it's not because I naturally am that way. They're very much against my base nature, and that's the reason that I'm a Jedi. It is very much against my base nature. My base nature is not that, right? So developing that patience, because I'm so horrible at the time, because I'm so like out of sync with the universe, it feels like, again, there's those moments of synchronicity where things line up that works really well. And you're like, if I could just get in that groove, if I can just get in that timing, life would be something. And some people seem able to do that, right? They just really good at the timing, and they're able to flow with it. They're able to catch that wave and ride that wave all the way out, right? Again, humans done. They're not around as long as this world's gonna be around, right? The universe and humans, those are very different things. But so if you can catch that wave, it can carry you for a really long time. And some people are really good at catching that wave. I feel like I'm body surfing and I'm just getting wrecked sometimes by those waves, catching the breaks. Oh, right. But at the same time, patience, introspective, following the things like the Jedi Circle, the cycle of illumination, they help ground us. They help get us back there. They help our perspective, and they help us slow down a bit and help get in touch with that timing of the universe and that flow of the universe. And that's what we're trying to get to. It wasn't all planned out. I mean, it was like a little bit, like George Lucas had his story. It wasn't a full story, obviously. But like one of the things that I love, right, is like, why is Chewbacca there? And it's because he had the idea for the Battle of Endor with Wookiees. Like the Empire was supposed to fight the Wookiees, but he didn't think he would ever get to make that third movie, right? And he really loved the Wookiees. So he put in Chewbacca in the first movie because he wanted a Wookiee. He wanted a Wookiee in his thing. And then, of course, he is able to make 3 movies. And he's like, well, I don't want to just do a whole thing of Wookiees now. So we're just going to chop them in half and we have Ewoks now. And because originally he envisioned that as Wookiees. But what you did have is you had a singular vision. And you had that light story. You had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And while it did fluctuate and change over all that, and obviously the details and all of that stuff change. And then, of course, the prequel, he still had an understanding of it wasn't set in stone or anything. It wasn't like a novel that was written out. It wasn't the story was fully formed or anything. But you had your connecting points. He even knew, like, if you read the first novel that basically he wrote, well, technically Ghost wrote, but like he wrote the very first Star Wars novel, obviously based off the movie, is he writes in there about the Jedi Knights in the preface is about the Jedi Knights prior and their golden age, really, right? The time that kind of Kenobi remembers and stuff like that they were the guardians of peace and justice for 10,000 years basically, and that's there already because you're talking a singular vision. You're talking about someone who has the story in their head, and it's written, and points are written out. It's like ... is written out. These are the main things that I want to hit, and this is how like a general thing. Now, again, it all fluctuated and flowed, and he got to change it as he saw fit throughout it. But again, that's the difference between a singular vision and then not having a formed point, but then being like, yeah, here's the general idea. You go make a movie. Okay, now you go make a movie, and now you go make a movie. Like doing that and allowing each director to have their own writers and to develop their own movie to, but again, and not having a singular person overseeing all that. Because even, again, the original trilogies, like George Lucas didn't direct it all and he didn't write everything. But again, he's there. And he's giving a singular vision, and he's helped, keeping it to that vision. Again, it fluctuates and it moves and it's things like that. And no movie's ever going to be perfect, but they didn't even have that. They didn't even have that. So it was more disjointed than it had to be. And then that meant in the third movie there were all these little points that needed to be closed up because you had different people handling different aspects, and it just, you had no oversight on that, no real oversight. You had no real singular vision because you didn't have a vision to begin with. And you have to have the vision to begin with, and then you have to kind of keep it. You're going to move, but like kind of keep it in that middle area and kind of keep the vision alive. And they just didn't have that. They just did not have the oversight for that. And it goes to Kathleen Kennedy's pedigree, where she was a part of the Indiana Jones movies. And obviously those are a little bit different, right? The Indiana Jones movies are, like, they're singular movies. So you can do that, right? Like, so you can have completely different, things while still keeping true to the spirit of Indiana Jones, right? So you have Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, but like Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, which is the one that she came in on and was a executive producer or regular producer or executive producer on Indiana Jones, and also had a role, like not a role, but like a backstage. She was one of the dancers on the stage in the beginning scene at the club. She was actually a part of that. She was actually a dancer in that scene where Indiana Jones is at the club. Anyways, point being, you have that, and then you have The Last Crusade, and they're all great movies in and of themselves, but they're it's a little different of an animal. Just goes kind of back to her pedigree, but yeah, Star Wars is a little different, and you needed a vision. You needed a singular person to oversee the vision, whether they were the director, producer, writer. You needed someone. You needed someone to keep this story contained. Like, again, there's going to be fluctuations, but you still need a little containment, right? It's like what we say about the Jedi Path. Jedi Path is a box. It's a big box. There's room for fluctuations, but it's still a box. You still have your boundaries. You still have your parameters. And I think they just did not have that kind of oversight. So, let's catch up here, shall we? A lot of rambling thing. We're still babies. We are in this way. Yeah, we are. We'll get there. We'll 100% get there. Me and timing don't get along. Cheers to that, huh? Yeah, timing is not my thing. But again, that's why I try to practice patience, meditation, all those things, is because yeah, I am horrible at timing. It's one of the funny things. The 48 laws of power, right? One of the 48 laws of power is master the art of timing. I have not been able to do that. I have definitely not been able to do that. Mastering the art of timing is definitely seems outside. Again, though, I'm trying to get back in, trying to get, like, not back into it, but like, patience, kind of like go with the flow. We'll see. If nothing else, I'm just hoping for that synchronicity. Lately, I've been playing Dragon Ball Z, Xenoverse 2, and Naruto Shinobi Striker. I went back to PL. I went back to playing. Oh, ran out of is there a thing like a cat? Went back to playing Cyberpunk. So did I, actually, because I saw Edge Runners. I did the exact same thing. I have a game of Cyberpunk going right now, and I went back to it, and I've gotten the jacket, the Edge Runner jacket in Cyberpunk. The Edge Runner, David Martinez's jacket. I have his. I'm wearing it right now in Cyberpunk, wearing his jacket and such. So, do you meditate or something similar? Yes, I meditate. So one of the meditations that I'm working on, that I want to transfer over to Insight Timer, is meditation that I do. But one of the things that I like to do is basically it's basically almost like the card we pull, this one, the activity for the week. So I like to find a quiet spot, and it's usually just my bed, or it's usually just the main thing is a dark room. Like, I usually just lie down or sit down or something in a dark room and in silence, and kind of just lay there or sit there and kind of just be, close my eyes and just be. Sometimes that ends up being a nap, but that's indicative of allowing your brain to slow down for a bit. But yeah, I put on a meditation timer Again, I use Insight Timer because it's a pretty good app, and obviously I'm there, so support. But I use Insight Timer at times and things like that, or I'll just use my phone's timer, and then yeah, I'll just sit there, and that's kind of like mine right now because it's probably the most easiest. I have a few different meditations that I like to do over my time. I wrote about them in the book that I'm working on right now. I put in a chapter where there's and I put in 3 or 4 different meditation techniques to try out. And one of them is called like being boundless. And I like that one, which is kind of like erasing the boundaries that we perceive. Again, you are the force. You're not a part of the force. You're perceiving a difference where there is none. And so I like to kind of visualize the boundaries and of everything kind of dissolving. There's one that I really like that's very personal to me, and I will not be talking about it. But it basically reaffirms my size in the world, let alone in the universe. Right? It's very it's good for me, and it feels like when I do that one, it really feels like I'm in touch with the universe, and it's really telling me the importance of kind of just getting like it's a reminder, not of timing, but like of timing, right? Like it's a reminder that the how big the universe is, and then how small we are, and then the importance of kind of just knowing that means like we're on the universe's time, not our time, kind of things. It helps, but yeah. So definitely not as much as I used to. When I was first getting into the Jedi path, I used to meditate a lot. Like I used to, but again, it's almost like when people practice force powers and stuff like that. I used to meditate a lot, and well, that's nice and that's great. There's a question of time management, and there's a question of what you're doing with your time, right? So, I remember like people in the Jedi community, they will talk, they try to talk up a good game and stuff like that. And there'd be people online, and or at my site, and they'll be like, yeah, I meditate for 5 hours. And it's like, why? What are you doing? That's 5 hours you can be doing something with your life. And like, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. But that's 5 hours that you can be using for many other things, including things within Jedi training and Jedi path or Jedi studies, but also other things about connecting with people, about having a life, about social wellness is important too. Spiritual wellness is important, but you don't need to meditate for 5 hours to obtain spiritual wellness, right? We aren't Buddhist monks, like we do have lives that we need to live, and the Jedi path isn't about seclusion. The Jedi path is about immersion. We are meant to be in the world, and we are meant to interact with the world, and we are meant to be a part of it. We're not meant to hide away in a room for 5 hours doing, I want to say nothing, but meditating. Like that's great for you, but it doesn't really do anything in regards to the Jedi path. It doesn't do anything in regards to life. It's just meditating. And so there's like, I used to meditate a lot, and then I realized that that's time that could be spent on other things. It's kind of like the same with video games, right? I used to play video games a lot more. Like that was all my free time. I played a lot of video games, and then it's the question of I'm spending this time, hours, like especially when it came to World of Warcraft, right? I mean, before that it was EverQuest for me, then it was Star Wars Galaxies, and then well, Star Wars Galaxies and World of Warcraft kind of around the same time, but it was I'm spending hours leveling up this character. That's hours I could spend leveling up myself, right? So adjusting that time management, ADHD and things of that nature are gonna mess with that time management. But at the same time, getting a flow of like, all right, I've done this a little bit, because if you have things like hyper focus or things like that, you're gonna hyper focus. That's just what it is, and you're gonna spend hours on something when you could be, doing other things, maybe things even that you need to do, like chores or whatever, but you're hyper focusing. It's going to happen, right? So, ebb and flow again, right? Timing, right? But I realized that, like, yeah, time I spent, all those hours I was spending meditating, I wasn't spending doing other things that could be just even more beneficial to my path. And then same with like video games, that I was spending so much time on them that I could be doing other things again beneficial to my life and path. Um, that's not saying to get rid of those things. Obviously, meditation is still good for you. All things in moderation, including moderation, because we're going to hyper focus, or at least I am, right? So all things in moderation, including moderation, and yeah. So you're going to do those things. You're going to have the ebbs and flows, and it's important about catching those waves and getting in time with the universe and things like that. The prequel trilogy definitely had a singular vision. Again, yeah, you had someone overseeing it. George Lucas had his ideas, and again, he kind of changed things and stuff like that. But yeah, it was much more set, and much more defined than even the original trilogy, because he had a really much clearer idea of the story he wanted to tell. Obviously, again, things still fluctuated and stuff like that, but the parameters were a little bit more tighter. But he still fluctuated within there. And it's just important. If you want to tell a singular story, you need someone with the parameters, with the vision that can kind of keep things, and obviously still be flexible enough to have your things. And I think, one of the issues with the prequels, if we're going to nitpick everything, is that it maybe had too tight of parameters and there wasn't enough free flow for creativity, because then we might have actually got Darth Jar Jar, which I don't know how people would have felt about. I think it could have been played out well. I think that would have been a very fun twist, a very Yoda-esque twist, considering. But I don't know how you would really tie that into the story. But, and again, like, you would then have to sort out, because you already have Palpatine as your big bad from the original trilogy. You would have to then sort out the hierarchy there. And you cannot put Jar Jar, even if with a good story to it. And you could do it cinematically. You could do it. You could turn him into really something. Like, there could be that character evolution and reveal that and kind of flashback of showing how those things worked. That could have just put things into perspective. But you can't put him over. You can't put him over Palpatine. There's just no way, right? And so while a fun little fan theory, it could have been done, but again, the problem is the hierarchy of the villain, the big bad, who's really that person. But you definitely need someone in. If you're putting together a trilogy, it's like the TV show, right? It's like the TV show. It's like Andor has a singular vision, right? It has a person in charge of it, that's overseeing this and overseeing the story and is a part of it and telling that story. They have that story. So that's why you're able to follow it through on different episodes and still get to that from the beginning to the end. And you're not going to be like, some of this doesn't really add up, or when it does close out, it doesn't feel rushed or forced or like, oh, we need to close out this plot point or anything like that, right? So yeah. All right. We are over an hour. Does anybody want a card pull? We still have our other ones. The first 15 minutes is the first 15 minutes of the stream. It took me about 14 minutes to get through all of them. But these were our card pulls in the first 15 minutes. A little inspiration is to keep a little optimism here. Have some faith in yourself. Our guidance is to focus on what you know. Every experience makes you who you are. The force is all around us. Our activity is to find a quiet spot, to find your focus, and to just sit in silence, close your eyes, breathe. Also helps with passive patience to do this. Find the peace within yourself. And then our affirmation: I am determined. I'm on a mission. I won't stop until it has been completed. The The world may put obstacles in my way, but I keep on rolling ahead. These are those. Again, you can go to the first 14 minutes, talk about them a little bit more. And I mean, there's ramblings. There's a reason why it takes me 14 minutes because, well, it's just how my brain works. So there we are. Yeah, and I think we're caught up on the chat. So finally got there after who knows how long of rambling and pontificating about time management and timing, the timing of the universe. It's important. We need to learn these things. We need to do these things. So, all right. Let's see. Okay. I think we're all caught up. So if you want a card pull, let me know. If you want inspiration, guidance, activity, affirmations, we can do that personally for you. What else do we have? I think that's it. Kind of touched on synchronicity. I might make a video on it. I kind of owe my Patreons a couple videos, so I might make a video on the synchronicity. It won't be long. It'll be basically what I already said, but I really do like it. I really think I like the analogy of the turn signals. So I kind of want to use that, and I think I can do a visual of that, right? And then, of course, I want to do a meditation. I owe the audience here and my Patreons a meditation video, and I definitely need to start transferring, or not transferring, but updating some meditations for Insight Timer and getting there because people have been listening there, and that generates revenue, unlike YouTube. I mean, not a lot. We're talking, I think my last one was like $5 or $7 for the month, but I mean, that's revenue, right? From people just listening to my meditations on Insight Timer. The fact that they're getting listens and plays and people are interacting with them ups my revenue, and I actually get something there. So I should probably be focusing in on that and actually building it up because at least they're willing to at least at this point. I'm sure they'll get big like YouTube and stop paying their content creators, but at this time they are. So I should again, timing, right? Universe, maybe that's the universe telling me to get over there and put in some work and actually devote my time to making and creating stuff that's actually getting some money coming in, because we still live in a capitalistic world. We are so far from Star Trek communism. We're just not there yet. We just don't have we're just not there. No spaceships for us, no replicators yet, no transporters, none of the cool stuff. Man, we just got cell phones that people bug me on now, man. That's it. All right. Okay, well, if no one has anything else, thank you, Zeno, for checking in with us and letting us know about your cultural exploration. Great to hear that you had a great trip and a great time with your family out in Europe and getting to explore other cultures. It's really, really cool, and I'm glad you got to do it. Hopefully you really got to take some things away from that. KG, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. I know Base Jedi is here. I'm not sure who else is lurking, but I appreciate you all for being here, watching, whether you take part in the chat or not. Really appreciate you guys for being here and supporting and all that. So thank you. If you want to, you can check us out on Insight Timer or check me out on Insight Timer. I don't think there's really an us. But OB McLeod on Insight Timer if you want to go there for some of our meditations. And unless you have YouTube Red, one of the benefits is that you can play it and then, your screen can be off and such like that. They don't have like videos and stuff to mess with the eyes, which makes it really great for nighttime listening, meditation before bed. That way you're not getting screen blue light directed into your eyes or anything like that. But thank you, everybody, for being here. Really appreciate it. thank you again, KG. Happy to talk about stuff. Glad you interacted, or appreciate you interacting. Helps the streams. Same with Base Jedi. Thank you for your polls. Don't forget. Sometimes we're out of sync. Just be yourself, and just be yourself. Be true to you, and that'll do it. All right, everybody. Truly, thank you. Appreciate you, and we'll go ahead and get out of here. So may the Force be with you. I'm going to yeah, that's it. All right. So I'm gonna end this. That's what I'm gonna do. And all right, for real this time. May the Force be with you.